You know, there are so many stories of fathers sexually assaulting their daughters, or stories of mothers neglecting their daughters or treating them horribly. And that's what this episode was all about. This lady spoke about how her father would come inside her room at night under false pretenses that he is coming to tuck her in, and he would put his hands inside her underwear at night and pleasure himself. She spoke about how her mother basically made her feel unloved, telling her that she was unwanted and treated her as if she was nothing. This one right here is a very interesting topic to listen to, and I'm going to give you the opportunity right now to listen to what was shared.
Wonderful childhood. Grew up with my grandmother, grandfather, life in the country, good. And then at 4 years old, my mother came for me because she said it was time for me to start school. And so went back to Kingston, started basic school, and I really did not know my father. I think I saw him once. He came to country to look for me when I was 3 years old. And I remember he carried this bright red shoes, pretty shoes. And it was interesting because he is a huggy, touchy, lovey, kissy type. And I took the shoes, but I never want the kiss nor the hug. So that became his talking points for many, many years. As I grew, he would come and visit maybe once every 2, 3, 4 years. And at 8, I remember he came to the house with this brown girl, bigger than me, and introduced her as my sister. Now, up to that point, I only knew I had a brother who was my mother's child. And so at that point, too, I discovered that not only did I have a sister, but he was taking her with him to Canada. And of course, I kind of get a little jealous because when I watched the girl knew her father. She was very daddy daddy with him. And I didn't really know this man. So I didn't know what this whole future involved, except he told me he was going to take me to Canada after he had taken her and got her settled. Then he started to come a little more frequently to Jamaica. And part of it was to add my name to birth certificate, had his name to my birth certificate so the filing could start and all of those things. But one of the things, and this was probably um, maybe 8, 9, going closer to 10. I kind of remember more from 10 as it relates to this. But whenever he came to visit, he always came at night. So he comes from abroad, he's doing his business in Jamaica, but he only came to the house to see me at night. And so he would be out there talking to my mother, whatever, in the living room. But then when it's my bedtime, he would say to her, "Okay, I'm going to tuck her in." And much to my surprise, because I was a very, very quiet child, I was so quiet. If you don't talk to me, I don't talk. Particularly because my mother was very abusive. She was verbally abusive. She never make fun for grab whatever she have and put on the lip. So I became very introverted, very scared, really. And one of the things with my mother was that when it comes to schoolwork, she was such a disciplinarian. And at that time, I didn't know I was a bright child because she made me feel like I was dunce. And I remember I had a serious problem with my timetables. And so that would encourage the beating. You miss your 2 times 2, or you can't get the 6 times 12, you're going to get beaten. And because I am morbidly afraid of beating, if you have even the slightest inclination that you're going to beat me, everything gone topsy turvy. And I remember specifically, I couldn't learn my 3 times, and this woman would beat me. And then on top of it, now she would tell everybody that she's a spelling genius. And so when it came to spelling, oh my God, I get beaten for spelling like there was nobody else in the business. And after a while, I was like, I can't do anything right. You know, this woman beat you for anything. She cussed you for anything. My older brother, who I spoke to him today, and I said, boy, I'm going to do this thing with Unstoppably, you know, and it kind of hard not to tell my story without telling yours. And his response was like, well, it's our story. So if you have to drop me in there, no problem. So basically, while I was being verbally abused and physically not so bad, he was being physical. I mean, the woman was murdering him. And this is how I kind of tell my story. My mother got pregnant for two wrong men. So she had two children, two delightful children, I must say, for two men who didn't want her. But it became our cross to bear. And so she took it out on us. I have my own way of saying my brother's story, but I'm not going to get into his thing, even though in retrospect, his abuse affected me so badly that I tried to toe the line, because if I miss anything the way she's treating him, it is going to happen to me. So I tried to be Miss Little Goody Two Shoe. And I learned very early. And of course, because he was getting abused and he was so upset, any little thing, he would take it out on me. So fine. So we're back at my father. My father comes once every 2 years or whatever to the island. And at about 10, him decide him going to talk me. Now I used to watch a lot of TV shows, and I noticed these foreign people always talk about talking. So of course I'm like, oh cool. So he's gonna take up a book, read me a story, fold my covers over my, chest nicely, and kiss me on the forehead and say love you, and just like the North Americans on TV. That's what you think talking is supposed to be. One of the things I found strange though is that just before the talking began, he would close the bedroom door and the light in the room is off. So I'm saying to myself, how am I going to read the story? And I don't even see with a book. And why is he closing the door? But of course, I am curious. I'm kind of waiting. I really don't know this man and all of these things. And him going to tuck me in. All right, fine. So he comes in the room and he is leaning over the bed and he's saying to me, what a nice girl I am and a bright girl I am and I'm doing well in school, and my mother is telling him how well I'm doing. And the first time, and boy, this is really taking me back to a place that I didn't even remember the details of, but having started a conversation with Unstoppable, it has opened up some memories that boy. Anyways, so I remember this gentleman. I don't know why I keep saying gentleman. It's still proper. As much as I try not to be Miss Goody Two Shoe, this is what has happened. I've grown up to be a very proper individual. So, anyways, so he is there talking about heaven knows what. But what I distinctly remember is that his hand starts a descent into my pubic area. As a matter of fact, going at the rim of my underwear and then working its way in the underwear. So I said to myself, what is this?
The
I
viewers want
don't
to know.
remember.
The viewers want to know. They're all asking how old were you at this point?
My memory was about 10. Right. So I'm saying to myself, because I have a very curious mind, but I don't speak a lot. So I'm saying to myself, but when I watch on TV, I remember seeing no and going into nobody baggy. What's going on here? But of course, I am trained to be silent, because in those days, children are supposed to be seen but not to be heard. And anything your parents do, it's right. What I found curious is as his hand made its descent into my underwear, he kept saying, don't let any boy touch you here, you know. This is your private area. This is your private parts. And as he's saying it, his hand is getting deeper and deeper until it made its actual landing. So it has now landed, and he's swirling and he's playing and he's having a whale of a time. And I am kind of looking in the dark with my eyes rolling all over the place, saying, what on earth is going on here? And he's saying things, but I don't know what else he's saying. My mind is just thinking about what is going on. And I'm saying to myself, I don't understand why, what, how, what. I kept it a secret. And so I realized as he kept coming, the tucking in was such a very important part of his ritual. Sometimes he would come very, very late, and he would purposely wake us out of bed, me in particular, because even if I don't want to wake up, because he carry jerk chicken or jerk pork or fish, and he must come and eat it now. And I found that very strange. But anyway, you're sleeping and you have to get up, go eat. Because again, of course, you have to obey your parents. But no matter whatever time he came and woke us up and gave us food to eat, me have to get tucking afterwards. I did asleep already. So of course, this went on. He is backing and forth in getting the papers done. And by then, I am having another sort of thing because my situation at home with my mother wasn't getting any better. She was very abusive, verbally abusive, and she was leading rather promiscuous life. So she have our mates, them, our fellas, them trekking in and out, and I have certain memories that I don't even know if I want to share here, but that's another story. But when he when I was in fifth form, this was Gilbert. So September was Gilbert. I was in fifth form, and for those who know me, and I've started reconnecting with a lot of people from high school, their only memory of me was that I was the brightest girl in the form. I was among, so you have five forms: first, second, third, fourth, fifth. I was the top student in my form, 5 years running. So brains. But the truth about it is that they saw me as the brains, but for me, I lived with a mother who could not be pleased. And so, because I so badly wanted her to love me, to accept me, because one of the big things about my mother is that she never failed to remind my brother and I that we were unwanted pregnancies. And one of the things that she said all the time was that the only reason she did not squeeze her leg and break our necks while we were being born is because there was a midwife doing the delivery. So you grow up knowing that you are unwanted. You grow up knowing that you don't have any value. But there was something inside of me trying to prove to her that yes, I have value. Yes, I have worth. I'm going to show you. And because I knew her love for education, I decided that I'm going to excel. And one of the most traumatic things that happened to me as a schoolgirl was in first form when the first report came. That was a December term. And, you know, high school, new school, you're excited, report come, you work hard, you want to see the time it come in the mail. So it came in August, maybe about mid-August. And school reopens the first week in September. So I'm there excited, want to see this report and want to see how I did. So she's the type of person, you can't see your own stuff. She has to vet it first. She has to read it first. So she's sitting on the veranda and I'm looking over her shoulder at the report card and I'm seeing A's, 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 and maybe a B. I don't even know. I think I probably had a C because I have a slight impediment in my knee. So physical education was always bad. And so C was probably the physical education. And when I peeped over the top and I looked, I saw position in class second. Man, if I could have skinned Papa Lip, I would have just do it. I was so excited. And my mother said to me, "What is wrong with you? Where you going on like that for? Huh? You idiot? Huh?" So I was like, yeah, but I come second in class because I knew how hard I worked. I had some bright classmates, and to be second in the class, oh my God, this is awesome. She turned and she looked at me and she said, "Girl, you know no sense. You waste my money. You could have made me really send you go to school and you come second. Eh? 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 I force you to come. Oh, you to come second." Of course, I break down in tears because I know how hard I worked. And she made me feel like garbage. And I remember for the rest of the summer mash up. Because in my mind now, I had to first of all find the person who came first, and I was going to destroy that person. So this is my young mind. I was still 11 because them time we did common entrance. So I passed young. And I went back to school with this anger. How dare somebody beat me, you know? So of course, when I went back to school, everybody glad to see their friends, and all I cared about was to find out who came first. Eventually, I found out, and it was a boy. Now, I have to segue here because my mother also spent a lot of time telling me how bad boys were. Boys are monsters, boys are horrible, boys are this, that, that. Make sure you don't get involved with no boy. Boy won't breed you, that's all boy do. Boy is this. So of course, how dare a boy breed me, not breed me, sorry. How dare a boy beat me? So when I found out who was the boy, quite nice guy, you know. I mean, I'll never forget his name. It's singing in my head, and I don't know where in the world he is now. And I never became his friend. And he tried to be my friend, you know. And I don't think this boy knew for the entire 5 years of high school why I hated him. And it was because he beat me. But what was worse was when I eventually found out his average. My average was 89.5%. And eventually, he didn't want to say it, but eventually I got it out. The boy's average was 90%. The boy beat me by point 0.5. And I tell you, friends, that was the beginning of me becoming a monster. I became maybe one of the worst students as a person in the school because my only intention was to beat this guy, decimate him, flatten him, destroy him, because how dare him beat me? And so that was what consumed me. So on one hand, I was consumed by wanting to beat this boy, wanting to be first, wanting to be best. And on the other end, being chubby and having inferiority complex and knowing that I am no good and I am of no value, and then my knees are giving up because I have no cartilage in the knees. I was just having a multitude of problems coming at me constantly, and a mother who constantly reminded me that me no good, I'm coming like my father, and my father now mind me, and all of this pressure is on her, and school expensive, and it's like all I'm saying to myself, I'm going to let this lady love me one day. I must let this lady love me one day. But nothing could please her. And so prize giving that year in first form, I was top student in maybe 5, 6 subjects out of 12 subjects in the entire form. We're talking about top student out of 300. And that continued every single year until third form. Going through though, I became bulimic because I'm chunky, and the pressures from home, and then you're learning about weight and Coca-Cola bottle shape, and you don't look like what you're supposed to look like. So I'm eating and I'm bringing up my food. I'm starving myself. I'm trying to get skinny. I'm trying to fit in. I'm trying to look like. I'm trying to be like. And then my father, whenever he comes, he speaks about the sister, the daughter. Oh, she's doing well in Canada, and she's playing soccer, and she's skating, and she's beautiful because she's a brown and I wasn't the brownie. Because we have a mixed thing. We have a family of we have a color prejudice thing going on in the family. So the brown ones are treated better than the dark ones. No, the funny thing is that I am neither brown nor dark. I am red. So when you think of a typical red picnic, my eyes are brown, my hair is brown, my skin is brown, everything about me red. So them used to call me copper color. And so my bad color, and I miss the color and all of them things. So you're getting all of this. But I remember when all of this came crashing down, my first attempt at suicide started when I was at primary school. And at primary school, I decided I can't take the pressure. I can't take the fact that I have this father who comes in and he's having his way. And I have this mother who is verbally abusing me. And I have all of these pressures going on around me. And you can't talk to your mother. And you can't talk to your aunties and your uncles about their sister because, Lord Jesus, that's what she can. Nobody mind her. and they shut you up. So after a while, you learn early, don't bother complain. And so suicide became a thing that I played with. I attempted the first time, still in primary school. That never worked because me never do it right, I guess. And when I went to high school, even though I think I was in second form by now, I was still intrigued with this idea of suicide. So I remember I went upstairs to the third floor of the first building, and I had it all figured out. I was going to go up there, and in the middle of class, when the bell had gone after lunch, I was just going to casually walk over the railing and go up to another layer that leads to the roof and just jump. And I have no idea what my English teacher, I don't know where this woman come from. And she come up there and she called my name and she's like, what you doing up here? And I'm like trying to tell her some foolishness that may lose something, looking for something, heaven knows what. And of course, she took me and walked me down and took me to the guidance counselor, who I was like looking at, and I'm saying to myself, what is wrong with this woman? What's she asking me? What she think I'm going to tell her? I see how she operates. You tell her anything and she going to fly her mouth like sick man behind. I'm not telling her nothing. So of course, that died a natural death. And it was at fourth form that I decided that, I'm tired of being Miss Goody Two Shoe. I'm tired of being Miss Bright Girl. I'm tired of trying to please the world, because the more I do, I couldn't please my mother. My mother was a person who I wanted to hear the words, I love you. And I was doing all of these things, being the bright girl, being the good girl, doing all of these things just to hear that woman say, you know what? You might have been a mistake, but I'm glad I had you. No, sir. My mother can't say them something there. You're crazy. She has to cuss you when you come to prize giving and you end up and you get the top award for 6 subjects. She cuss you. You do all at 12 and you get top award just for 6. Girl, I waste my money with you. Where you take this thing for? So of course by fourth form I was tired of it, and I decided that it's time to kick back and time to have boyfriend and time to give it up to whomever want, and time for because the person you're trying to get her affection, she's not giving it to you. So you might as well go seek it elsewhere. But some people, I guess, the good things that you have cultivated, they are so ingrafted that you can only go so far and no more. So even though I tried not to be such a goody two shoe, I guess the fellows that I tried to get on with them, she said, boy, you reach halfway with this sister and she just shut you down, and it not working out. So by fifth form I said to myself, you know what? Sure, we might as well just continue and just pass up the little exam them and just left school and things. But in that time I had a teacher. Another teacher started a cultural, not even so much a cultural, an etiquette class or club. And she chose some students. And out of that, I guess she saw something in me. And so she suggested that I apply for an intercultural scholarship to go abroad for a year. I don't hear nothing more than go away. So I was like, okay, good. What I have to do, your grades have to be up. I was like, okay, good, I'll settle down. Settle down. And by October of fifth form, I was selected. Now you had a range of 1 to 5 to be selected. So you had your pick of countries to go, and Canada was on it. And I knew that I was migrating to Canada, so I didn't want to go to Canada. I wanted to go somewhere that I'd probably not have an opportunity to go to. So I looked at Europe and I said, yes, Europe. Chose Belgium. I had this wonderful French teacher because I loved new stuff. I had a French teacher, Miss Jones. She was amazing. My French was coming along nicely. I wanted to go to Belgium to do French and whatever else they speak over there. They speak 2 different languages. So, anyways, my father came that December, and this is the final year of school now. This is fifth form. This is breaking up. This is when I finally settle in and having friends and have boyfriend and decide that yes, are going to have a wonderful Christmas and going to really broke out this year, this Christmas. And say the man come out of the blue in December, and he doesn't normally come in December, and comes and says, your papers come through, I come for you. I'm taking you to Canada. Abala, bala, 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 bala. And people are like, what's wrong with you? But I knew what Canada meant. Canada meant my father was not going to have full access to me. The first thing that upset me was that this was December. And this man didn't come with a jacket. He never come with leggings. He didn't come with anything for me to live in a winter month. And I got there, you have on your him say put on stocking. Now me live a Jamaican. Stocking was these not sure if ladies remember these little Xbox stocking. This is not stocking, it's not going to keep you warm or anything, it's just for sure. Your best church stocking. So I have this on, I have on my red shoes, another red shoes again. And I have on a long sleeve, him so wear long sleeve. Him don't tell me wear an underblouse, anything. So you dress up, because them days you dress up when you're going to foreign. So dress up, and I tell you, when I come out of the airport, one cold lick me up to the day, I still I feel it in my bones. Better me never have on no clothes. I cold till I full. And this man, his woman turned up, his wife turned up with this big old heavy trench coat jacket, something that was like weighing 1,000 pounds, that smelled like she take it out of the bottom of one barrel and forget to disinfect it. And so this big old heavy smell bad something is what she put over me, but I was freezing. Get to Canada, get to the house, and the man, he has his family. It's a 2-story. It's an apartment building, but our apartment have 2 stories. So his family is downstairs, and I have the privilege of sleeping upstairs in the study where there's a bed. And brother, from the moment I land into that house, into the study, and he's like, oh, I know you love books and things, so you'll be very happy here. He sent his family to bed, and him upstairs, and him in the study. So he's in the study because this is my study. This is where I spend my time. And at 16 years old, the brethren coming to tuck me in. So I had started crying from the airport, and something said to me, girl, the only thing going to save you tonight is if you ball. And so I decide to get my best balling on, and I ball that night. I ball, and all the brethren I try tuck in himself. Him realize this not working out because it's a pick me a ball too much, and him don't know how to stop me from ball. But him already can't wait for this moment to arrive to get him moved on. And it was just very concerning to him, and he just decided, say, you're not gonna have your way, and the only thing we know to do is ball, so I'm going to ball. So I'm there, and he decided to give up and move away. So I was happy. And so, good enough though, I went, got landed. Somebody died in Jamaica, and I guess back then, I was there for a while. Oh, Stoppable, I almost forgot the most important thing. I didn't want to go, and he knew I didn't want to go. And so, because he knew my big thrust on education, he said, I'm taking you there because I need to register you for university. I'm registering you for the University of Toronto. And I told him I wanted to study psychology and all of that. And he's like, yes, him go on and get the information. And it's just for me, to come. And brethren, can I tell you, one snowy night, one snowy day, he took me downtown Toronto, St. Clair, and I don't remember the name of the other street. That's another story. That was for a dental procedure. But before we got to that, he drove me past the University of Toronto, or whatever the university. Yeah, that was the name. And he said to me, you see this school? You will never go there. And as a matter of fact, at the time I was in Canada, I realized I was there as a babysitter, because this is what he does. He brings people up from Jamaica to be a babysitter for him and his wife. So, of course, my first experience there turned out to be very, very negative. So I find a way to get rid of him in the night, but now I am stuck taking care of his child because as soon as we wake up, him and his wife gone, and he would leave me with this child, this horrible spoiled brat, to take care of. Good enough. I had committed that I wanted to return to Jamaica, I had to finish my CXC. I had gotten chosen to go on the scholarship, and no Canada was going to hold me. So we went back to the High Commission, got a leave of absence, and I went off to Spain. I didn't get to do Belgium. That was another bit of politics, but whatever. When I got to when I was leaving Jamaica, well, oh boy, my story. So my father, when I got back to Jamaica in the new year, 89, my mother had a big blow up because there were some papers she had to sign so that he could get baby bonus. And he wasn't happy already because he hadn't gotten many years of baby bonus. I was already 16, so I only have 2 more years before I'm 18 to get the rest. And she decides so she not sign no paper because she not gonna get the money. And he was very upset because, but I have been sending her maintenance money. No, you not send nothing. And it was my brother who said to me one day, come here. And him carry me into a place and him show me. And there were checks, stale dated checks from my father that he had been sending over the years as maintenance for me. And the woman don't change them because she wanted me to suffer, to believe that my father wasn't taking care of me. So when she cussed me and she cussed him and she said, just your father, this, that, if she doesn't change the checks, then there is proof that she not get no money, but she was saving them. And that is another story for another time for something 23 years later. But we're not there yet. So I got into this middle of this argument between two parents, and he said to me, well, you can cross off Canada off of your list, and I'm no longer your father. Don't call me, don't write me. I don't want to have nothing more to do with you because your mother this and your mother that and your mother go on like so. So here I am now, stuck with this non-payment of an agreed amount to go on the scholarship to Spain, which was my escape. Because unlike most people who run away, may have sense. I'm not going to run away and put myself in danger. I want to run away properly. And so my runaway was to excel, get this scholarship, and run away legitimately to Europe. So if that makes sense to anybody, that was how my mind processed things. So here I am now, totally distressed because my dream has now evaporated. I wanted to escape my abusive mother and my disgusting father, and instead I am stuck in Jamaica. What am I going to do? It just so happened that they called from the organization for the scholarship and said everybody needs to meet on this particular Thursday because the flight is the Tuesday of the next week. So of course my money don't pay. So I said, boy, I don't really want to go to this meeting and look fool, because I was the only non-aristocratic people pick me who was selected because it was like the doctors and the lawyers and the upper echelon Jamaicans who were chosen. So they would ask me my name, and the name didn't ring a bell because it wasn't a Willie Bill or a Levy or whatever, the chins and the wings and the lings and whoever were the Tapanari's people at the time. So it's like, so who are you? What does your mother do? And what does your father do? And I'm like, well, my father live abroad. Oh, okay. So, okay, your father lives abroad. That explains why you got in. It can be based on your own wit and skill and knowledge and excellence. So anyway, where am I? So that's a Thursday, and everybody's going into Judy, getting the ticket, getting them itinerary, getting them thing. And I'm just sitting out there curled up in a chair looking like Marga dog, feeling even worse. And I'm like, why did I come? You listen to the briefing and you're sitting there and you're like, why am I even taking all of this in? Because, again, my father let me down. It's not the first, it's not the second. This is like him to promise, not come true, to storm out when things get hard. So anyway, everybody get them ticket and them kind of filtering out, excited. And then the program coordinator came out, Sonia, and she said, what you doing here? I was wondering, because your ticket is sitting in the bottom of the thing and you don't pass like ticket. Look here, don't play with me. I have a very bad temper. I was one of them children where, because I couldn't express myself when I got angry, I would get into temper, cry and nose flare and hiccup and the whole 9 yards. So I'm like, no, don't play with me. She's like, no man, your ticket is here. And I'm like, how come? And she carried me in and she showed me the airline ticket, Kingston to Miami. And I'm there reading every line and looking at everything because it can't be. Because when this man decided he was not going to pay the cost of it at that time, it was 3,000 something US, 16,300 Jamaican. It worked out at that time. The dollar was like 5 to 1 or whatever. My high school and I got into sponsorship request mode. And so I remember I went to Camperdown High and I had to, my teachers were like, yeah, my principal was like, yeah, we can write the letters, but how we going to get it to here and there? And I'm like, I'll take it. So no, I'm walking to cement company, I'm walking to the business places and I'm not getting any response. They're saying, oh, but you go to an athletic school. Can you run, Mr. Run the cartilage? Them not even in the knee. What are you talking about? So, well, if you were into athletics or if you played, football or if you, I was like, well, I play badminton. They was like, bad who? Nobody don't know nothing about badminton. So, no, we cannot sponsor you. And I remember there was a little old lady. She wasn't so old at the time, a friend of the family. She said, let us go on public eye. I think it was Barbara Gludon or one of them. I think it was Barbara Gludon. Or maybe not, but somebody. And she went on public eye, and the pledges started rolling. And I can't forget there was a gentleman from Pete's Patty, and he contributed a deep, must be $3,000, enough money them time. Well, and the pledges came in to 8,000 out of the $16,000. And the entity had said to me, boy, Sharon, you know that you try, but guess what? You didn't complete the payment. And in years gone by, we would send children and their parents or their sponsors would commit to paying and they don't pay. And so this year, the board of directors, they said, no, if all of the money don't pay, you can't go. And so with that, and my father having withdrawn altogether, I know that I am not going anywhere. And so I'm sitting there, curled up in the corner, totally devastated because my escape strategy has now failed. And then I really wanted to go to. I was tired. I was tired of the abuse. I was tired of being treated like less than. I was tired of the mixed signals. At school, my teachers were telling me that I'm awesome and I'm wonderful and I'm great. But the people really count, your family. Everybody looking at you and scoffing at you and treating you like you're dirt. And you're like, what do I do? So when she told me my airline ticket was there, I said, no, sir. And so I looked on every leg of the trip and I realized that my ticket was there. And my joy knew no end. She said, but come sit down. I have something to tell you. That might not be so pleasant. Because you had an anonymous donor who came in last minute who said they will underwrite the difference. But the paperwork for Spain didn't go off. And so we had frantically tried to get something done for you, but we don't have a family for you to go to in Spain. You're going to have to either go to the monastery or the university and just kind of live on campus while the team on the ground there try to find your family. Hey, what business about that? Me a go. What? Me a take plane and me na go Canada. Me a go Spain. Me I go a zillion miles away from both my mother and my father. Thank you, Jesus. Life could not get better anytime soon. So, of course, I remember, I think it was about the 28th or the 29th of August, 89. I boarded that plane early morning to New York, and I tell you guys, I was like, I don't care when I sleep, I don't care when I go, me I left them people here, and I wish I would never have to come back to them ever again. So I left, got to the university, met up with all of the other exchange students, their children. They're from as far as Kenya. I had a wonderful friend named Rahima. Oh my God. And so we had this wonderful 4 or 5 days there. And then the staff said, we really, it's not our culture to leave you in the university. Spaniards are very family oriented. And so we had to find somewhere for you, even temporarily. So there's a family in Barcelona who they hosted a girl from Russia recently, and they're not in a position to have another child so quickly. But the gentleman heard your story and said he couldn't allow you to sleep in the university. So he wants you to come spend 3 weeks, and the organization will use those 3 weeks to find you a permanent family. I was just so happy. I didn't care who it was, where I was going. I am going somewhere, and we jump on the rented train, and 9 hours later, I am in Barcelona. I arrived on my birthday. No Spanish. But these things don't bother me. My goal was to get away from my parents. Did not care what happened later because it can't be any worse than what I was going through.
Alright, we cut it right there, but if you want to hear the rest of what was shared, I think you're gonna like the ending. Click the link in the description, it will take you on over to Unstoppable Live where you can listen to the rest of the story in its entirety. When you get over there, please remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications, so once we go live, you will get notified and you'll be able to participate in whatever topic we are having at the time. Also remember to hit the subscribe button right here on the recap channel as well, so that once we drop a recap, you will get notified. Until the next Unstoppable recap, stay strong, stay motivated, but most of all, remain unstoppable.